All right, good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. Again, my name is Billy Parker. I'm employed with Amtrak out of Jacksonville, Florida, manager of operating rules for the Southern Division, which includes 7 states in the Southeast. I've been with the railroad now for over 37 years. But before I get started today, I want to thank Metrolink and the entire Metrolink team for inviting me here today. It's been a great week for me personally with Fred Jackson and his group. It's a privilege and an honor to be a part of this program this morning and to be a part of this trucking event, Trucking on the Train. As I said, I've been employed with the railroad for over 37 years, and when I was an engineer, I can tell you, and this is sad to say, not a day went by in my career that someone didn't run around gates or simply failed to just look or to listen at the many, many crossings around this country not equipped with gates. So it's imperative that we all remember 3 very important things, the 3 things I just mentioned. Number 1, please never try to beat a train. Number 2, any time is train time in either direction, day or night. Number 3, trains cannot stop quickly. In fact, on average, it takes over a mile for a train to stop. Now, to put that in perspective, line up 17 football fields, if you will. It's a long way. To put something else in perspective, when a train hits an automobile, it's the same effect as an automobile running over a 12-ounce soda can. The weight ratio is the same. The devastation is the same. When I was an engineer, I had many, many close calls and several actual collisions. I've hit cars, I've hit pickup trucks, I've hit trespassers, I've hit 18-wheelers. And we in our profession as engineers and train crews have 2 things that we really would rather not hit. They're called our 2 worst nightmares. 1, without a doubt, a school bus loaded with precious young children. And 2, a gasoline tanker. On March 17th of 1993, on a Wednesday, St. Patrick's Day, I had the very unfortunate experience of hitting a gasoline tanker. I'd like for you to visualize with me for the next 2 or 3 minutes the prolific circumstances of that horrific event. My day started off just like any other. I left my house, went to the Amtrak station, did my usual job briefing, boarded the train and headed south to go to Miami. The train was uneventful, the trip was uneventful until I got to Cypress Creek Road, which is near Fort Lauderdale. As my train activated the sensor that allows the gates to go down, lights and bells to come on for Cypress Creek Road, I noticed a small white car just sitting directly on the track ahead. Something we see as engineers and train crews every day. Immediately behind that car on the west side was a huge gasoline tanker that had, now everyone picture this with me, GASOLINE across the side of that tanker. And I'll tell you, that'll put a knot in an engineer or a train crew's stomach. I breathed a sigh of relief as that small car slowly moved off the track, and I literally gasped as I noticed the tanker easing over the crossing. I knew he was blocked in with nowhere to go. A lot of traffic that day as usual in South Florida. Little road construction was going on. I put my train brakes into emergency, blowing the horn one last time before just finally running back into the engine room, where I knelt down on my knees, covered my head with my arms, and waited for impact. I had no idea at the time if that tanker was full or empty. I certainly had time to say a quick little prayer. What took 2, 3, maybe 4 seconds after putting the train brakes into emergency before initial impact seemed like an eternity. My life actually went into slow motion. I had time to think about my wife, my parents, my children, my many friends, and I can think about it as just as I'm thinking, standing here today talking to you. What in the world is it going to be like to burn to death? When I hit the tanker, it was an unbelievable explosion, followed by several subsequent explosions. I had no idea what was happening outside. The engine was totally engulfed in smoke. I was blinded by it. I literally had to feel my way to the rear of the engine to open the door. When I opened that door, the fire and heat was so intense that it literally singed the hair on my head and my arms. At that point, I wasn't concerned about singed hair. Man, I was proud to still be alive. I got off the engine on the east side, away from the fire, ran back, started helping the passengers off. And with fire estimated at 300 feet high, you can well imagine the panic and the pandemonium that was taking place. Passengers were yelling, screaming. Things were pretty much out of control. Unbelievably, and thank God, there were very few injuries on the train. All of them were minor. I worked my way around to the west side of the train, and that's when I realized just how tragic this event was. Due to the explosion, several automobiles were burned completely beyond recognition. Inside some of those cars were people that never had a chance, never knew it hit them, never had an opportunity to escape that huge fireball that just totally engulfed them as they waited for my train to go by. I'll never ever forget, as long as I live. It looked as if one person was sitting straight up, looking straight ahead, hands still gripping that steering wheel. No way to tell if it was a man or a woman, young or old, black or white. The tanker driver was killed along with 5 other totally innocent people just sitting, waiting for the train to go by. On a positive note, what happened on March 17th of '93 changed my life in many ways. First and foremost, it made me appreciate and love the importance of life itself. After all, I stand before you today proudly and can tell you that I'm celebrating 18 years, 2 months, and 23 days at literally a second chance at life.